We begin with the simplest mirror, a piece of glass backed with silver. It has no opinion, no voice, no intention, and yet, for thousands of years, we have stared into it and seen not just our faces, but our soul, our fears, our futures. I think about how this silent object became our first and most intimate teacher. It doesn't instruct, it does not judge, it simply is. And its being, it shows us what we bring to it. If I come with anxiety, I will see a worried face. If I come with peace, I will meet with a calm gaze. The mirror itself is unchanged. A mirror is a mirror. It is my own state that colors the reflection. This is the fundamental truth of the mirror as a metaphor. It reveals the seer, not just the seen. It presents reality as it is, but only after we have presented ourselves in front of it. Ancient cultures understood this profound duality. They saw the mirror not as a passive household item, but as a sacred interface between worlds. The Egyptians called polished bronze mirrors the eyes of the soul, magical tools to perceive beyond the physical. The Maya, the Aztecs, crafted mirrors from obsidian, using them as portals to commune with gods and ancestors, accessing spiritual dimensions. In ancient Greece, practitioners of Tramancy would gaze into mirrors to divine hidden truths and futures. Even in the sacred texts and rituals of the East, the mirror took on central role. In the Tibetan Dzogchen tradition, the Milong or wisdom mirror is a core symbol. It represents the mind's own nature, empty like a clear mirror surface, yet capable of spontaneously reflecting all of life's appearances without being stained or altered by them. A mirror is just a mirror. This idea of a pristine awareness that reflects perfectly but clings to nothing feels like a key offered by an enlightened master of old. They weren't just talking about a piece of metal and glass, they were planting a seed about a consciousness itself, using the mirror as a metaphor that unfolds over time. We look at an object and see our face. Then, perhaps years later, we remember the teaching and have a flash of insight. Ah, the mind is like that. The masters didn't force the lesson. They simply held up the metaphor and let our own experience do the teaching. I find a beautiful echo of this in the luminous pages of medieval illuminated manuscripts. These books were not mere text, they were sacred objects. Their lavish beauty, seen as a direct reflection of divine generosity and glory. The gold leaf on the vellum didn't just decorate the page, it illuminated it, aiming to mirror the light of heaven itself. To create such a work was an act of devotion, where the scribe's labor was a prayer. The book became a mirror of faith, and in its reflection, a believer might glimpse something transcendent. Hildegard of Bingen, the 12th century mystic, captured this in her vision of caritas, divine love. In her illustration, a majestic female figure representing the Holy Spirit stands central, with the figure of God emerging from her head. It is a stunning theological mirror. The divine reflects itself through a feminine form, suggesting that the sacred image includes all of us. So, what is a mirror really? It is a paradox, a boundary that creates a vista, a surface that reveals depth. It is the first technology of virtuality, showing us a version of ourselves that exists only in relation to its surface. When we stand before it, we are both the observer and the observed. Neuroscience hints at why this feels so profound. When we look at our own face in a mirror, our brain uses similar pathways as when we look at the face of another person. In a very real, biological sense, we are meeting ourselves as an other, engaging in a silent social encounter. We see ourselves as a social being, and in that externalized view, we form and reform our self-concept. This is where the teaching deepens from history into personal practice. In my own life, I've moved from using the mirror as a critic, a tool for monitoring flaws against cultural standards, to using it as a space for compassionate encounter. It started not with a grand intention, but with a moment of exhaustion. I caught my own gaze and was startled by the sadness looking back, a feeling I had been too busy to name. In that moment, the mirror wasn't showing me a flaw. It was showing me a truth I was ignoring. It became a quiet space for a daily check-in, not to affirm vanity, but to offer a moment of undivided attention to the person who often receives it least, myself. This simple act of mirror gazing, done with mindfulness, can be a radical recalibration. We also often seek our reflection in the eyes of others, in their approval, their admiration, their love. We hustle to be seen. But what if we practice seeing ourselves first? Not with judgment, but with the simple, quiet acknowledgement we might offer a friend in silence. The mirror becomes a practice ground for inner relationship. We see our own critic flash across our features, and we have the choice to soften it. We see a hidden wariness, and we can offer it a breath of compassion. This, I find, is the true mirror-like wisdom, spoken of in ancient traditions, the ability to reflect our entire experience, the joy, the fear, the strength, the pain, without identifying it with as a permanent stain, but simply letting it arise and pass like a cloud crossing a clear sky of awareness. When we cultivate this inner clarity, something shifts in our outer world. The desperate need for external validation begins to quiet. My motive in connecting with others becomes less about getting them to see and affirm a curated version of me, and more about genuinely seeing them, discovering who they are beyond their words. The mirror practice ironically turns our gaze outward with more generosity, because we are no longer starving for reflection. We have become a source of our own light. So the mirror is our first silent teacher. It teaches objectivity, showing us the face we present to the world. It teaches psychology, revealing the feeling we project onto our own image. And at the deepest level, it teaches philosophy and spirituality, pointing to the nature of a mind that can know itself. From the polished bronze of ancient rituals to the glowing screen of a modern selfie, the medium changes, but the human quest remains to understand the relationship between one who looks and the image that appears. The journey of self-reflection then begins with this simple, profound act: meeting the gaze in the glass without turning away. It is not an act of self-absorption, but self-recognition. And in that recognition, we might just find that the silent teacher has been whispering all along, waiting for us to become still enough to listen.